Hello, dear viewers. It is our pleasure to welcome you to this edition of the News in English on Rwanda Television with me, Sarah Shinhore. We'll begin with the headlines. The First Lady of Rwanda, Her Excellency Jeannette Kagame, has hosted over 300 children from across the country to celebrate the festive season, marking the end of the year. Rwanda has officially handed over leadership of the Eastern Africa Standby Force to Somalia after holding the position for a year. And on the international scene, the United States has continued to criticize the Taliban for laws designed to deprive women and girls of fundamental rights. Now the details. Thank you for joining us. The First Lady of Rwanda, Her Excellency Jeannette Kagame, has hosted over 300 children from across the country to celebrate the festive season marking the end of the year. She extended her heartfelt wishes for a joyful holiday season to the children. The children expressed their gratitude to the First Lady through performances including dances, songs, poems, and various games. Her Excellency Jeannette Kagame also took the time to listen to the children as they showcased their diverse talents. In return, she presented them with gifts, including school supplies and recreational items. This annual tradition reflects a commitment to spreading joy and supporting children from different parts of the country as they conclude one year and prepare for the next with happiness and hope. As we noted in the headlines, Rwanda has officially handed over leadership of the Eastern Africa Standby Force to Somalia after holding the position for a year. The transition took place during the conclusion of the six-day EASF meeting held here in Kigali. We have more on that. Rwanda's Minister of Defense, Juvenal Marizamunda, passed the leadership mantle to Somalia's Minister of Defense, Abdul Kadir Mohamed Noor.
And I would like to extend my heartfelt thanks to each of you for the unwavering support and dedication you have shown throughout my tenure. Today, we are here to pass the baton of leadership to our esteemed colleague from the Federal Republic of Somalia, who has just graciously accepted the chairmanship. We are confident that under his leadership, the ESF will continue to thrive and achieve even greater heights. I assure you, Honorable Minister, that you have our full support during your tenure. We are committed to working alongside you to ensure that our collective goals for peace and security in our region are realized.
Reflecting on Rwanda's achievements during its tenure, Minister Abdul Kadir Mohamed Noor pledged to build on the progress made under Rwanda's leadership.
As you know, the organization, why we made this organization is to have this region stability, peace, and prosperous. That is why today we were discussing a lot of issues in the region, and we faced a lot of challenges, and we are working on it to solve. Somalia took handover today on the chairperson of the East African Standby Force, and our intention as a chairperson is that we face what our previous chairpersons has been working on.
Rwanda's Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, Olivier Nduhungirehe, highlighted ongoing security challenges in the East African region, including terrorism, which continues to threaten peace and stability.
Our region continues to face violent conflict and cycles of unrests, compounded by emerging threats such as increasing terrorist attacks, abductions, religious extremism, organized cross-border crime, human and drug trafficking, and the illicit proliferation of small arms and light weapons. Additionally, we confront numerous developmental challenges, including poverty, disease, and the devastating impacts of climate change. In this light, I wish to express my deep concern regarding the senseless loss of innocent lives and the humanitarian crisis unfolding before us. Thousands of civilians are losing their lives and livelihoods seeking. As ambassadors of peace, we must seize this moment to reassess the political and cultural dynamics that lead to conflict and war in our region. It is crucial that we realign our strategies to address emerging conflict situations and enhance our early warning systems and develop effective mechanisms for crisis response.
The EASF meeting, which lasted nearly a week, involved expert consultations, military leaders' discussions, and ministerial-level sessions. Key achievements from the past year were reviewed and plans for 2025 were finalized. The Eastern Africa Standby Force is composed of 10 member states, although Seychelles has submitted a request to withdraw from the bloc. This request will be officially addressed next year if the country maintains its decision to exit. The Rwanda Stock Exchange has announced its efforts to expand and reach the international level, aiming to attract both businesses and investors. This goal will be achieved through newly introduced guidelines. The new regulations, known as ESG or Environmental, Social and Governance, are designed to promote sustainable investment in environmental conservation projects and ensure sound corporate governance for businesses listed on the exchange. Bongowethu Sonti, an official with GRI Africa, the organization that developed these guidelines, explained that they are tailored to support the expansion of Rwanda's stock exchange.
For companies who want to still exist, who want to become more resilient, it's going to be important to adopt ESG and sustainability principles. We also know that globally there is a movement towards penalizing companies that have poor sustainability performance, whether that's lack of capital, lack of access to markets. We're seeing some of the markets that be a factor that companies must also understand coming in future. But generally, in terms of the guidelines themselves, they offer companies a way to have an overview of what's expected by investors, by civil society, by other companies that they'd like to supply in markets that I mentioned, like Europe.
Pierre Bukumba, the CEO of the Rwanda Stock Exchange, has elaborated on the rationale behind introducing these guidelines. They are meant to provide solutions, and we did not introduce such regulations just for the sake of it. They are in place to help the stock exchange and the companies listed on it to operate better. It has become obvious that profits alone cannot be the priority. Rather, the interests of the general public must come first. The world we live in now requires that we protect the environment and promote useful principles like gender equality. When it comes to governance, it's not about dictating rules. Instead, at the end of the day, proper leadership is what produces results. Regulators of Rwanda's financial and securities markets are optimistic that these new rules will help the stock exchange reach international standards. Dr. James Ndahiro, an advisor to the Capital Market Authority, has expressed confidence in their potential. The directives are going to help to make Rwanda an international market. It won't matter where in the world you are. Rwanda will provide the solution to your business challenges. We are putting the directives in place to make it easier for everyone, to help both Rwandans and foreigners. The new guidelines primarily focus on small and medium-sized enterprises, providing a framework for them to access funding through bonds issued on the stock exchange. This comes after the market opened its doors to private companies, both local and international, enabling them to raise capital for business ventures via the stock exchange through debt securities like bonds. Patients who spend extended periods in hospital say when they receive meals and other necessities, such as hygiene products from well-wishers, it gives them the strength to endure their illnesses and continue their lives. They shared this sentiment on Saturday during an event at the Kigali University Teaching Hospital, Sehashika, where patients were wished a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Samuel Nyonshuti, a patient at Sehashika, recounted how he was involved in a serious accident in October this year while riding a motorcycle. in Kamonyi district after being hit by a car. I was riding my motorcycle when the driver of a vehicle drove on the wrong side of the road and hit me. I suffered many bone fractures and needed surgery first on the lower part of my body, and now I am waiting for a second surgery, this time on the upper portion. I am confident that my leg will be saved. Samuel, who is 42 years old, has been hospitalized for over 2 months and expresses how receiving meals and hygiene supplies from generous individuals has given him renewed strength. Solid Africa provides us with everything we need, including a balanced diet. They make sure that we always have fresh supplies, including clean sheets, and that gives me the strength to persevere. Understand that my home is in Kamonyi, and even if they were able to bring me food every day, it would not compare to what I am given here. I get eggs and meat daily, and there is no way my wife with our 3 children would be able to afford that. You therefore understand how important this is to me. Solid Africa, an organization that delivers meals to hospital patients, provided gifts to 1,700 patients as part of its mission. The organization regularly supplies 3 meals a day to patients in Sehashika, Chibagabaga, Masaka and Muhima hospitals. Isabel Kamariza, who heads Solid Africa, has emphasized that their initiative aims to show patients that they are cared for and wished a quick recovery. We do it to give them morale and show them that the general public cares about them and what they are going through. We always consider a patient's condition when selecting a suitable diet for them, be it adults, children, or expectant mothers. Dr. David Turatsinze, a specialist in internal medicine, highlighted that in addition to medical treatment, providing proper meals and showing compassion significantly aids patients in their recovery. In some cases, our treatment centers around the patient's diet, especially when we notice deficiencies. Sometimes no medicine is necessary, and when it is necessary, then a good diet becomes all the more important to counteract known side effects. When a patient is unable to eat properly, treatment becomes difficult. That is the reason a balanced diet is so important. Solid Africa's management has stated that in collaboration with the Ministry of Health, their goal is to establish small kitchens in every hospital to ensure patients receive meals tailored to their specific health needs. Now, on Friday, the National Examination and School Inspection Authority closed 60 private schools in 11 districts across Rwanda, primarily offering nursery and primary education. The news was confirmed by the Director General of NESA, Dr. Bernard Bahati, during an exclusive interview with RBA's Francine Omutesi.
The decision we took to close some of the schools, there are a number of reasons we base on to make sure that our decisions are informed by the standard and norms. The first reason is the substandard infrastructure or old infrastructure. The second one relates to even some of those infrastructures can endanger the student's life. But the main reasons which add to that is that in some cases, for those schools that closed, that we are proposing to close, they could not implement NESA inspection recommendations. So those are the main reasons that motivated our decision to ask some of the schools to put an end to their activities. This is a process that started some month ago, but each and every year here at NESA we conduct inspections, school inspections, and we realize that even though we try to accredit some of the schools, but the non-accredited schools continue to be established here and there, and then we sat down and looked at how we can put an end to this process of just having schools starting without accreditation. So we decided that we are going to carry out an inspection for all those schools, non-accredited schools, so that we can provide accreditation for those who fulfill the requirements and try to advise some of them that have certain things to do so that we can accredit them. But again, sometimes, and this we do it usually in our inspections, in some cases we are forced to take some tough decisions for those schools that are most importantly working in an environment that endangers the student. So that's how we came up with proposing that these 60 schools be closed. Those are 42 pre-primary schools, 9 schools that have both pre-primary and primary, and 9 primary schools. However, we didn't close them immediately, so we waited until the first term is over so that we can go to district, work with district officials, held meetings with the parents and even the schools to make sure that we find places, we replace those students who are in these schools that were closed to some other schools in the neighborhood in the same sector. Yeah, when we do inspection, sometimes we are obliged to take immediate decision. For example, you get to a school where the walls are cracked. You can't wait until you hold a meeting with parents. You take these swift decisions, and then other meetings and the other processes follow. So on Monday, the NESA teams are going to district to work with district officials to make sure that the students are replaced in other schools. But again, we'll hold meetings with parents of the students who are at those schools to make sure that we tell them this is why the school was closed and this is where we are going to replace your children. Yeah, we want to promote all levels of education from pre-primary to primary and then secondary and up, even to higher education. But it should be done by complying established norms and standards. So yes, we want education for all, but having students in schools is not enough. But how does the learning environment look like? Does the learning environment endangers the student? So yes, let's have students go in schools, but let's make sure that the learning environments and all other requirements are complied with. That's what I can say. Yeah, thank you very much. The message to parents, I alluded to this, I just alluded to this. The message to parents is that, and the student, be assured that there are strong reasons we based on for asking the school to halt their activities. But again, be assured that from now until the second term starts, we will have found places in other schools where we are going to replace the students who are in these 60 schools. For the public, and most importantly, those who wish to open schools, to start a school, or any other related program regarding the school, kindly join NESA and apply for opening a school. We are here. This is part of our mandate. We will come and check whether the norms and standards are fulfilled, and we will provide accreditation. But if you open a school without having authorization, beware, be informed that you are not in the right way, and we are here to check whether what you established complies with the norms and standards. I would say among the two evils, I don't know whether I'm putting it right, I would prefer the lesser one. Probably I can understand the social and emotional impact on what we did, but this is worse compared to what can happen if they were to remain in those schools. So that's why I said we have to hold meetings with parents, explain what happened, and in some cases we even show them the school environment, and I would prefer probably helping students on that side instead of living in a school whereby tomorrow after tomorrow victims. What I can say here, there are extreme cases. There are extreme cases. I gave an example here of schools that are operating in bars, in lodges, or you find a building in one room, there is a preschool, another room, there are some people, the tenants there, or there is shops or some other things, or bars. So those are extreme cases. If we find a school in such an environment, we can't tolerate it. We have to make sure that we save the student lives, and then that's what even we've been doing. It's not the first time we've been doing this, but probably this time it went out and it reached many audiences because the number increased. Because, as I said, we wanted to sort out, to settle this problem once for all. That's why the number increased, but we've been doing this when we found a school is an environment endangering a student, endangering kids, we close it.
Welcome back, and now a look at international news. The United States has continued to criticize the Taliban for laws designed to deprive women and girls of their fundamental rights. VOA has the details.
The Taliban is issuing archaic edict after edict after edict, designed to deprive women and girls of fundamental rights, of the chance to learn and live and thrive with freedom and dignity. Most recently, the Taliban banned women's access to medical training, which means no access to medical care. How will women's health care needs be met in the future if there are no qualified women doctors, nurses, dentists, and midwives, and male doctors are not allowed to treat women? This new restriction defies logic and could represent a death sentence for Afghan women and girls in dire need of potentially life-saving medical treatment. It will have an impact on every mother, every unborn infant, boys and girls, and on the future of Afghanistan. This is not cultural, and it's not religious. It is unfathomable. It's sick. It is heartless. We're also deeply concerned by the dire humanitarian situation in Afghanistan, with nearly 23 million Afghans, more than half of Afghanistan's population, in need of humanitarian assistance. My message to the Afghan people and to Afghan women in particular is this: we stand with you in solidarity. In the face of this repression, we and our partners remain steadfast in our firm commitment to support the Afghan people.
Generative artificial intelligence companies are racing to build on the popularity of programs like ChatGPT, but AI regulation has not kept up with the pace of the technology. Now, an incoming administration in the US could favor domination over risk mitigation. VOA once more.
Announcement this week from President-elect Donald Trump and SoftBank CEO Masayoshi Son.
I'm thrilled to announce that SoftBank will be investing $100 billion in America, creating 100,000 American jobs at a minimum. It will help ensure that artificial intelligence, emerging technologies, and other industries of tomorrow are built, created, and grown right here in the USA.
Innovations in generative artificial intelligence are advancing at a rapid pace, fueled in part by the popularity of large language model programs like ChatGPT, which are trained on vast quantities of textual data to generate new content. But the technology's seemingly unlimited capabilities raise questions about safety and regulation.
The Trump administration has been very clear that it wants to eliminate a lot of the AI regulation that was put into place in the Biden administration, saying they want to unshackle AI to win the AI war against China to lead the world.
At the recent AI summit in New York, attendees expressed excitement for the future of AI, but also a desire for policies and standards that will help mitigate its harms.
Companies want to understand how to avoid the kinds of footfalls and PR disasters that happen when, for example, AI is biased or AI fails to operate as designed.
Gaming entrepreneur Jay Watts notes the calls for transparency from both creators and companies like Valve, a major video game developer and distributor.
Now it is forcing the companies to say how they're using AI instead of just using all these generative assets that you're getting from somewhere, potentially infringing on someone else's rights.
Ensuring that generative AI models are trained on quality data is ideal, but developers don't always have access to it.
When you use a pre-trained version of a large language model, even if you fine-tune the last layer, you do not have control on the massive amount of data it is already trained on. So there could be tuning, but there is no concept of unlearning that data.
Experts suggest incorporating measurements and benchmarks to assess an AI program's performance, which they hope will ultimately drive more business.
That's how you get buy-in, that's how you build in confidence.
Others contend that a regulatory approach that's too heavy-handed could stifle innovation and competition.
If some countries are more aggressive on regulations and some countries are less, then probably the tech companies will move across different countries. AI is a field that every country wants to win, so they will align their regulations.
As artificial intelligence advances, human intelligence must still determine the right balance between innovation and order.
That report brings us to the end of this edition of the news, but before we go, let us again take a look at the headlines. The First Lady of Rwanda, Her Excellency Jeannette Kagame, has hosted over 300 children from across the country to celebrate the festive season marking the end of the year. Rwanda has officially handed over leadership of the Eastern Africa Standby Force to Somalia after holding the position for 1 year. And the United States has continued to criticize the Taliban for laws designed to deprive women and girls of their fundamental rights. That's it for the news, for now that is. I'll see you again soon and goodbye.